music industry today is remembering the life of Linkin Park lead singer Chester Bennington. He was 41 years old and the artist was found dead in his Los Angeles home yesterday. Authorities are investigating his death as an apparent suicide.
Imagine a voice capable of expressing the pain of millions of people, a voice that could transition in just a few seconds from a melodic, comforting whisper to a torn scream of pure despair. That was the voice of Chester Bennington. To the world, he was the frontman of one of the biggest bands of the 21st century, Linkin Park, a man who sold over 100 million records and packed stadiums in every corner of the planet. But behind the spotlights, the awards, and the praise of the public, there was a man fighting a daily, silent battle against his own demons, a war that began in his childhood and unfortunately dictated the rhythm of his life and his art. Today, we're going to tell the real story of Chester Bennington, unfiltered, the journey of a boy who used his suffering to heal the world, but who couldn't heal himself. Chester Charles Bennington was born on March 20th, 1976 in Phoenix, Arizona. The son of a nurse and a police detective, his childhood seemed ordinary, but the reality was dark. At 7 years old, Chester began suffering sexual abuse by an older friend. Afraid of judgment and not knowing what to do, he kept this terrible secret for years. To make matters worse, when he turned 11, his parents divorced. The feeling of abandonment and the buried trauma pushed young Chester down a dangerous path. In his teenage years, he found refuge in the abuse of alcohol and hard drugs such as cocaine and methamphetamine. But there was another escape valve, one that would change his destiny: music. Chester spent hours in his room drawing and listening to rock and grunge bands like Stone Temple Pilots and Depeche Mode. He realized that when he sang, the pain seemed to fade. He tried his luck in a few local bands like Grey Days, but the real turning point of his life would happen in the late 1990s. In 1999, a band called Zero was desperately looking for a vocalist. The co-founder, Mike Shinoda, had an innovative vision, mixing hip-hop with heavy rock. That was when a music producer recommended Chester Bennington, who was turning 23 and working a regular job in Phoenix. They sent a demo tape with instrumental tracks for Chester to record vocals over. What happened next feels like a movie scene. Chester went to the studio, recorded his part in just one day, and called the producer back. It was enough. On the other end of the line, the producer could only say, "How soon can you catch a flight to Los Angeles?" Upon arriving there, Chester changed the dynamic of the group. The chemistry with Mike Shinoda was instant. The band changed its name to Hybrid Theory and eventually to Linkin Park. In the year 2000, they released their debut album, also named Hybrid Theory. Songs like In the End and One Step Closer dominated radio stations worldwide. Almost overnight, the nerdy guy with glasses and short hair transformed into the biggest rock frontman of his generation. Linkin Park's success was massive, but fame is a slippery ground. In the song lyrics, co-written with Mike Shinoda, Chester exposed exactly everything he felt: anxiety, paranoia, and the wounds of the past. That is why the audience connected so deeply. They felt that Chester wasn't just singing, he was bleeding into the microphone. However, away from the stage, his old struggles with alcohol returned to haunt him. In 2006, the situation became so severe that the band members themselves had to stage an intervention. They reported in documentaries that they felt they were dealing with two different people: the sweet, talented Chester and another destructive guy when he drank. Chester listened to his friends and sought sobriety, focusing on what mattered most to him: his family. Chester's personal life was busy and filled with love. He had 6 children in total from 3 different relationships. Chester loved a full house, surrounded by his children, dogs, and pets. He tried to be the safe haven that he never had in his own childhood. Despite appearing stable, Chester's mind remained a dangerous place. In interviews, he often said, "My mind is a bad neighborhood. I shouldn't walk there alone."
I heard somebody say this once and it like stuck with me, but this is like a bad neighborhood, you know what I mean? And I should not go walking alone.
And the final trigger for his emotional relapse came in May 2017. Chris Cornell, frontman of Soundgarden and one of Chester's closest friends, took his own life. Chester was completely devastated. At Chris's funeral, he sang the song Hallelujah, visibly shaken. A part of Chester seemed to have left right there. Just 2 weeks before it happened, Chester recorded an episode of Carpool Karaoke. In the video, he appears laughing, singing, and dancing. He seemed happy, and that is the scariest part of depression. It hides behind smiles. On July 20th, 2017, which would have been Chris Cornell's 53rd birthday, the world stopped. Chester Bennington was found lifeless at his home in Palos Verdes Estates, California. He was 41 years old. The cause of death was suicide by hanging. The man who saved so many lives with his lyrics could not find the strength to save himself. Chester Bennington left us far too soon, but his voice is immortal. Every time a Linkin Park song plays and someone feels a little less alone in the world, Chester's heart keeps beating. If you're going through a difficult time, remember, you don't have to walk through that dark neighborhood alone. Reach out for help.